Good evening and welcome. It is January 22nd at 7 p.m. and it is the Maple Plains City Council public hearing. At this time, I'm looking for a motion to open the hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Burek,
Second.
second by Councilmember Francis. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. We are entering the public hearing at 7:01, and at this time I will turn it over to our city engineer, David Martini.
All right, thank you, Your Honor, members of the council. Tonight we have a improvement hearing for the proposed 2024 street reconstruction project. So we'll go through some information here related to the scope of the project, a little background information, costs associated with the project, and then give the public an opportunity to comment on the proposed project. So to start with, from the way of introductions, it was back on August 28th when the City Council authorized the preparation of a feasibility study to look at the 2024 street project. That includes the following streets: Independence Street between Bud and Howard, out here in front of City Hall, Bryant Street, and Wyman Avenue. There's also some city components to this project that aren't being proposed to be assessed. The mill and overlay of Howard Avenue cul-de-sac, and also looking at improvements for surfacing of the Rainbow Park South parking lot. The feasibility study looked at all the infrastructure elements within the project area, and as part of the report, we described the proposed improvements, the itemized cost estimates, cost apportionments, and the preliminary assessment rule. This is just a map that shows the project areas. Again, Bryant and Wyman is shown there in the red, a little difficult to see up there on the screen. Independence in yellow. Thanks. And then there's a couple green areas there. That's that cul-de-sac I mentioned and the parking lot resurfacing or surfacing. So as we look at the need for the improvement, one of the things that we're looking at here is the age of the improvements. Based on city records, which aren't necessarily complete because these improvements are old, it does appear that most of the improvements were originally constructed in the 70s or possibly earlier. When we look at it from a pavement standpoint, the existing pavement in most of the project areas have deteriorated to a point where traditional maintenance activities are no longer effective. When we look at it from a water standpoint, we have very corrosive soils in this area, so the water main pipes in the project area have deteriorated to a point where they're fragile and subject to breaks. The water main also is undersized in relation to current standards. We have mostly 6-inch water main within the project areas. Standard water main construction would be 8-inch. And also, when we look at it from a standpoint of just kind of providing flow to the community, when you look at the southeast part of town where we have some of our larger water main pipes, we have some bottlenecks in the system, including the Independence, where we have some, again, undersized water main to adequately serve that part of town from a fire flow standpoint. From a sanitary sewer standpoint, the sewer within the area consists mostly of clay pipes and has brick-built structures that are susceptible to infiltration. And then as we look at Wyman Avenue, that portion of the project, it's been built to a rural design standard, so it has ditches instead of city standard curb and gutter, and the width of that road is also narrower than current city standards. So as we consider those needs for some improvements, what is being proposed is we'll kind of break this up into Independence and then the Bryant-Wyman portion of the project. From an Independence Street standpoint, we're looking at full reconstruction of the roadway, again from Bud Avenue to Howard Avenue. The water components of the project, water main runs through or down the entire length of the proposed project area. Right now it's 6-inch water mains being proposed to be upgraded to 8-inch. And if you look here on the kind of the shaded out properties, those are the properties that receive water service from Independence. You can also see that there's some properties along Independence that actually are provided their service off of either Bud or Main Street. So from a water assessment, they potentially don't have a water assessment because they're not getting their service provided by this project. The sanitary sewer is same scenario, a little bit of a split here. You have some of the sanitary sewer flowing towards Howard, some of it goes towards Bud Avenue, but again, as you look at those grayed out properties, those are the properties that receive sanitary sewer service off of Independence Street, and would be proposed to have an assessment with this project for those services. Independence Street, we're also, from a scope standpoint, looking at replacing the existing storm sewer. We're also anticipating that there'll be some water quality improvements that will need to be made to get our watershed permit for the project. Those details haven't been worked out yet. We would also be replacing the existing curb and gutter, and the curb and gutter that's out there now is the high back style of curb and gutter. We propose to put that back in, given the nature of Independence Road and the public parking needs that the road accommodates, that we put that curb and gutter back as it is, and then new bituminous pavement. There is, Independence Street is 39 feet wide, which is wider than a city standard street, so there is some additional width that will be put back, again, as it is now, but the cost with that additional width will be borne by the city. And then, again, looking at this from an accessible area standpoint, looking at the components of street and storm sewer, water, sanitary sewer, the properties that are shaded here all have at least one of those components that it's being proposed that they would be assessed for. Switching now to Bryant Street and Wyman Avenue. Again, it's proposed that this would be a full reconstruction of the street and infrastructure. When we look at Wyman, I had mentioned kind of the narrower street width there, and right now it being a rural section with the ditches. The proposal there will be to widen that Wyman Avenue to match the width of Bryant Street, and then also add curb and gutter to that roadway. Taking a look at the water there, again, similar to Independence, the water main and the services are going to be replaced within the right-of-way. Again, showing the shaded properties that we believe are served off of these two roadways and would receive a water main, or an assessment for water. There are a couple side streets there, Pioneer, and I forget the other offshoot there, that right now we have at least one property up there that we don't anticipate, or based on our records, we believe that the water main is coming off of the side street, and so we're not proposing to assess them, although during construction that may change once we have a chance to expose that infrastructure and determine exactly how that's put together. Sanitary sewer, similar, replacing everything within the right-of-way. And again, showing those shaded properties. So we have a couple there that we believe, we don't believe the service comes off of Bryant. And again, during construction, once the infrastructure is exposed, we'd have to take a look at that. But right now, we're not anticipating assessments for sanitary sewer for those couple properties. Again, replacing storm sewer on Bryant. We're expanding the storm sewer system on Wyman, again with the addition of curb and gutter, some catch basins there. We know that there's some low-lying areas along Wyman Avenue that we're going to take a look at. We're anticipating that we're going to be able to lower the road some there, hopefully improve the drainage in a few of those areas with the improvements. And then, as with Independence, the addition of some water quality treatment that would be part of the scope of the work. Again, looking at the accessible area then for Bryant Street and Wyman Street, the properties that are shaded here again are proposed to get at least one of the components of the project assessed to them as benefiting properties. Looking at the project from a cost standpoint, the total estimated cost of the project is $5,727,922. And the way that breaks down, when you look at the assessable portion of the project, so again, what we went through here with Independence Street, Bryant, and Wyman, that portion of the cost has an estimated cost of $5,614,458. The way that it would be proposed to pay for that part of the project is assessments to benefiting properties, which is estimated at $1,526,127, and then there's city cost participation, which totals $4,088,331. And it should be noted with that $4 million number for the city, that does include $384,640, which are assessable portions of the project that are being paid by the city. That includes the city park land here on Independence, and then there's some non-assessable portions or footage on the project that the city is taking on those cost responsibilities. Non-assessable portion of the project, again, that cul-de-sac on Howard, the Rainbow Park parking lot, the estimated cost of those improvements is $113,464. And again, that is proposed to be paid 100% by the city for those project components. Looking at the assessment methodology, this is similar to the past projects of this nature for the city. 35% of all project costs proposed to be assessed are being proposed to be assessed on a unit basis. So again, taking that the Independence, Bryant, and Wyman portion of the project, taking the total project cost, and then 35% of that being assessed to the benefiting properties for those various components: the water, sewer, street, and storm sewer. The city again is paying for the additional street width of Independence Street. And the city is paying for the non-assessable frontage on and project elements. So that includes the cul-de-sac, the parking lot, and then what we have as you look at those maps, so using Independence as an example, the water main runs from Bud all the way to Howard, but some of the properties along Independence we wouldn't be assessing for water main because they get their service off of Main. So that footage that would normally be assessed to a benefiting property, the city is taking responsibility for those costs versus spreading them out to the other assessable properties. Looking at a summary of how those assessments break down on a per unit basis, the properties that are receiving street and storm sewer assessments equates to $12,321 per unit. Sanitary sewer is $3,702 per unit. Water, $4,883 per unit. So if you're a property that is receiving benefit from the project for all three of those components, total assessment per unit would be $20,906. Again, an estimated assessment per unit. Looking at how that breaks down kind of by type, I had mentioned already that the city within the accessible footage of the project has $384,640. That is 14.1 equivalent residential units. So essentially, if you take all that footage that the city's paying for, it equates to 14.1 homes, if you will. The residential portion of the
Does Haven Homes take part of that?
Yep.
Okay.
Residential is $1,081,093. That is spread out over 54 residential units. The school property that we're sitting here tonight, $133,795, or 6.4 equivalent residential units that the school property is being assessed for. There's a church property across the street here on Independence. The proposed assessment there is $48,051, and that is 3.9 equivalent residential units for those properties. And then, as was mentioned, Haven Homes, Elam Homes, and the proposed assessment of $263,187, and that is calculated based on 13 equivalent residential units for those properties that are owned by Haven Homes. Looking at a summary of the city cost for the project, the total estimated city cost is $4,201,795. And that, again, there's that assessable, if you look at the preliminary assessment roll, there's $384,640,000 or $640 there. The street component of this project, if you break it out, $1.7 million essentially associated with street improvements. Storm sewer estimated at $500 million, or $500,000, $500,000. Water, $828,824. Sanitary sewer, $628,369, and then non-assessable project costs, the $113,000 again, cul-de-sac and park. So the conclusion, after looking at all these components in the feasibility study, is from an engineering standpoint, the proposed improvements are feasible, cost-effective, and necessary to maintain the city's infrastructure. If the city moves forward with the project, the remaining schedule, we're here right now tonight having the improvement hearing. If the city wishes to move forward with the project, you would be passing a resolution tonight to order the improvements, which would essentially authorize the preparation of plans and specifications and bidding of the project. The project, we would anticipate we'd open bids in March. And then bring the project to the council to consider awarding the project in April of this year. If the project moves forward after that point, we move to construction, and we would look to have a final assessment hearing in the fall of 2024 when all of the actual project costs would be put together, and the notification would go out as to the proposed assessment, and once again giving the public the chance to be heard on those improvements and the costs associated with them. With that, I will turn it back over to you.
We're out of tax money.
All right, thank you to our engineer, David, for explaining that. At this time, we will open it up to public comment. We will begin with Mrs. Marion Crum. If you'd like to come forward to the podium and state your name and address. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Crum. Next, Mr. David Allen, living on Bryant Street.
Can I wait till next, later? I don't have any subjects here right now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Allen. Next is Mr. Adam Ruland, living on Wyman Avenue. If you'd like to come forward to the podium, please.
Hi, Adam Ruland. I'm at 1495 Wyman Avenue. Couple comments, questions I have is living on Wyman, the drainage in that area is terrible. And looking at the height of the road, I know I expressed it at the open house, that needs to drop considerably to not flood the properties worse than they already do when it rains. So I'd like to make sure that that gets addressed if this project moves forward, and see a plan on how those properties aren't, how they're benefited, and it doesn't make the issue worse, because by putting the curb and gutter in, it's going to block the water from draining to the street like it does, or to the ditch right now, essentially create a dam if the road doesn't drop significantly. And then the Haven Homes property itself floods pretty significantly when it rains as well. I imagine that impacts the properties that backs up to that. I think right now it's currently because the ditches have not been maintained on that property, and they plug up anytime it rains. Excuse me. Second concern I have is I haven't read all the feasibility studies on how the projects are broken up. I understand the funds are limited in a small city on the size of projects that can be done, but it seems like it's kind of a disjointed project with a portion of it in one area of the city and a portion in another. Is there any benefits to, economy of scale if it's looked at a little bit different? There's a lot of roads in that area next to our, like, is it West Main, some of those roads that are pretty much deteriorated to gravel roads at this point, like, improving a bigger area at one time instead of kind of breaking it up. So those are some questions and comments I have. Other than that, I understand the need to improve our infrastructure, but want to make sure we're doing it smartly and that it couldn't be looked at differently and maybe be more cost effective. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rulin, for addressing those questions in a respectful manner. And I'm going to turn that back to staff. I believe, David, at the open house, everything was documented and his questions will be.
Yeah, we've had a few different conversations about the drainage on Wyman, so we are aware of some of those concerns. We haven't started the design yet to know some of the details, but the intent would be to lower that road again to get as much drainage to come to the road as possible. There are spots where it's likely that we'll have a catch basin or some sort of an intake behind the curb and gutter to address that concern that there's no intent to block the drainage from being able to get into the storm sewer system. Some of what's going to control how much we can do there are just grades of driveways, ultimately outlet of that storm sewer system as to how much we can lower that to get there. But we appreciate the feedback that we got, in particular at the open house from some of the residents that have been there for a while, have some knowledge and a little history as to how that's set up and has worked in the past. So we're aware of the concern. Once we get into the design and are able to take in a little bit more detail, we can start figuring out how much of that we can address. There's no intent to make it worse than it is right now. Certainly the hope will be to improve it to the extent possible.
Thank you. And then.
And I'm sorry, there was another piece of that, asking about kind of the project priority and the way that's split up. So just to kind of address that comment. So, the city, we've had a capital improvement plan that we put together over the years. And what is driving this project in, to a certain extent, is the infrastructure, given the condition of the water main in particular. The water main out in front of Independence, again, as we talked about right now, is kind of a bottleneck. We have the water tower here in the park, but we have an undersized line that ultimately is feeding larger lines that have been constructed to the east and to the south. So we want to address that. The Bryant-Wyman then was kind of basically moved up in priority, where we had a fairly significant water main break here, that, as they always do during cold times, and caused some significant issues. And if you recall, the water actually came around the corner, flooded the railroad tracks and froze there, created significant issues. So understanding the condition of that pipe when it was replaced and being able to observe the condition it was in, it was determined that would be it would be prudent to give that higher priority, get that done sooner and later, so that we didn't have a repeat of what we had. The best we can not have a repeat of what we had here with that last water main break there.
Thank you. All questions are going to need to come from the podium. Sorry, so we can get it through the sound system. All right. Next, we'll hear from Mrs. Mary Steffenhagen.
I thought I was just signing in. I don't have anything. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I have
Oh, Mr. Ron Steffenhagen.
Is that all right?
That's great.
Okay, Ron Steffenhagen, 5464 Bryant Street. The bids will be awarded in April, and then the final assessments in the fall. I assume that's in case you find anything under there that you didn't anticipate.
Yes, so a couple pieces to that. So one is, this process kind of allows for checkpoints along the way here. So this being one tonight. So the council at this point has authorized the feasibility study that kind of provides the information to determine kind of what you're looking at if you want to move forward with the project. Obviously taking public comment tonight that they'll consider in determining the next steps. Then, if the project moves forward tonight, plans, specs will be put together, go out for bids. At that point, once bids are received, it will come back to the council again. We're anticipating in April for you to consider again whether or not to move forward with the project. And things that you'll consider in that is, in part, is it consistent with what you anticipated as we've estimated the cost to this point, how it potentially is going to affect assessments as we've anticipated them. So it'll be another checkpoint for the council to make a move forward or stop the project at that point. Then, yeah, as again, kind of along the way here, once we get into construction, the goal of this is to start with our estimates, but be efficient in the way this is constructed, not do more than we have to once we can expose some of these things. And then at that point, basically as the project is substantially completed, we'll have more
Okay.
accurate real-world costs associated with
Yeah.
the project that we can put the assessment roll together based on that methodology that I've laid out there in the presentation, and
Yeah. Okay.
that's how it will be determined.
Are you resident, sir?
No,
All questions need to come from the podium,
Thank you.
please.
Just two real quick questions. I haven't heard anything about sidewalks on Bryant Street. You're not considering that? Okay. And power lines, are they gonna be buried? Have you thought of that at all? I mean,
Yeah, and we didn't look at that as part of this scope. Traditionally, when that comes up, the city has looked at it from time to time. I don't know the history of Maple Plain as far as looking at that, but it would be a cost to the city to
It's spending. Okay.
do that. And
Okay.
unless there's an issue, a lot of times
Yeah.
cities forego the cost.
okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Steppenhagen. It sounds like there may have been some confusion, so if you did not sign up to speak and you plan to, you are welcome to come to the podium at this time, but you will need to state your full name and address, please. Is there anyone else who would like to speak for public comment?
I have a question that's
Please come to the podium.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Wayne Dirth, 5454 Bryant, and this is just particular to me, but my water shutoff is located in my driveway. While this is all getting ripped up, is there some way, like it needs to just go to the side, like 6-8 feet, so it's not in my driveway?
Do you want to address that now, Mr. Martini?
Sure.
Or do you want to have residents contact
Yeah,
you?
so property-specific issues like that.
I can just sit for it.
Okay,
Thank you.
we'd certainly like to know about issues, concerns. If we're gonna do this, it sure would be nice if we did that, those kind of comments. So a couple things with that, as we move forward here, we do have a site on the city website that's gonna have project information on there. It's also gonna have contact information. So if you have property-specific things that you have a question about, want to bring to the design team's attention, there'll be the contact information necessary to reach out to us and provide that information. When it comes to the water shut off, that would be something we'll take a look at. It's going to kind of depend on how things are configured as to how much flexibility we have there. The other thing I will add is, again, as a check-in point and to have some of these more property-specific discussions, prior to construction, assuming we get that far in the process, what we've done on past projects and we would plan to do for this one is, once we have a contractor on board, actually have a neighborhood meeting where we can meet out with the contractor on site, the project personnel, the inspectors, the people there, and be responsible for the project, so that we can actually kind of stand in the field and take a look at some of those specific questions and concerns and determine what can be done. Again, with the idea that, yeah, this is a disruptive, expensive project. If there's things that can be improved, we certainly at least want to have the opportunity to look at them and see what we can do.
Thank you. And then just to clarify too, all the notes that were taken at the open house have been given to you
Yes.
and your staff as well. So people that were at that and made notes about your property, those have been given to the appropriate people. All right. Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else for public comment? All right. Hearing none, at this time, I'm looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
I move we close the public hearing.
Motion by Councilmember DeLuca.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Fay. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. All right. All right. Next, we will begin our city council business meeting. We will begin the meeting at 7:30 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand if you are able and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to adopt tonight's agenda, but before I ask for that, I would like to add to the agenda under new business, it would be 10, letter C. It would be a resolution establishing an absentee ballot board. With that, looking for a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Francis.
Second?
Second by Councilmember DeLuca. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
All right, at this time, we'll call up the new fire officers. We have Rick Dennison as the new fire chief, Ed McGinty as the deputy chief, Zach Christensen as captain, and Joe Doyle as lieutenant. And the Honorable Mayor Moskowski will issue the oath.
While they're coming up, I was just going to say a few words, if I could, for just a second. Honorable Mayor and council members, I just wanted to say thank you so much for a couple of things. One, allowing us to come in on the January meeting. I know it's a full meeting, and apologize for taking up the time, but I so appreciate you accommodating us, because I do truly believe this is such an important part of recognition for the firefighters on our fire department and having this swearing-in ceremony. And so everybody knows in the audience what we're doing is tonight, we're swearing in 4 members of the fire department into officer positions, people that haven't held these positions before in the fire department, and they're either being promoted up from a firefighter position or moving into a higher promotion as an officer on the fire department. And these folks, to get to this, have gone through an application process and an oral interview with myself and the city administrator. And then also, each firefighter has the opportunity to give feedback with regards to this promotion person and their support of these people. So that's kind of the process that they've gone through. So tonight, we're going through a ceremonial process of a swearing in. And again, we have an oath that we use for that. And then also, we're going to have a badge pinning ceremony. So once we're done with the swearing in, then we'll have each of the new officers come forward. They'll get their badge and have a person of their choosing pin that badge onto them. And then I would just ask that if we have a minute afterwards, we can take a picture and go through that. And again, I believe City Administrator Colander mentioned that Joe Doyle, if you want to come up, and Joe is a line firefighter and he's been promoted to lieutenant, so he'll be here. And then Zach Christensen. And Zach was a lieutenant, and if you want, just right at the table there, kind of close to Gary, but not too close. And Zach was a lieutenant, and he has moved up the ranks to is now captain. And then Ed McGinty, who was a captain, and he's been promoted now to deputy chief, so he's our second in command. And then it would be myself. And I was the deputy chief. Ed took my spot, and I've been promoted up to the chief position. So again, thank you so much for having us.
Well, first, before I come and administer the oath, absolutely no apology necessary. This is very important and something that we are honored to be a part of, and there is no apology needed at all. So thank you all for being here. You guys are all so far away, I didn't shower this morning. All right.
Read slow for us, though.
Read slow? Okay. Please raise your right hand. I state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend. I will support and defend. The Constitution of the United States of America.
Constitution of the United States of America.
The state of Minnesota against all enemies.
State of Minnesota against all enemies,
Both foreign and domestic.
both foreign and domestic.
And I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties as firefighter of the Maple Plain Fire Department.
I
And I will faithfully and all right, retake. And I will faithfully and impartially
I will faithfully and impartially
discharge my duties as firefighter of the Maple Plain Fire Department under the appointment of the department according to the laws of Minnesota, County of Hennepin, and cities we serve, to the best of my skills and abilities. So help me God. All right, next time I'll do 3 words at a time the whole way. And I just want to say, as I said earlier, no apology necessary on behalf of the entire council and the city and the residents of Maple Plain and Independence. We appreciate all of you and your commitment and your service, and we do not take it lightly. And I feel the pinning ceremony is just as important as the oath. As both a firefighter's daughter and wife, we know that it takes the support of family and loved ones, and what you do affects your home life, your personal life, and so it's an honor to invite forward the special people you've invited to be here this evening and to pin on your badges. So please come forward.
Officers, wait here. Okay.
No! Do you want a chair?
I had the step stool ready for her.
Oh, you should have brought it, Jess.
Awesome. Thank you. Ed? Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Remember, he's wearing white.
Well, it's tough to get out of the white shirt. Excellent. Thank you. Zach? Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Zach? Joe? Congratulations. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you so much. Pictures
At
we
this
have?
time, we will recess for a few minutes for pictures and congratulations. All right, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. At this time, I'm going to call an end to our recess. We will move on with our agenda. Next item, it is 7:45 and we're entering back into the meeting. Is our camera on still, Administrator? Okay, thank you. At this time, any visitors to be heard? Seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. Our consent agenda this evening is letters A through K. We did approve letter A already, but there was one change that Councilmember DeLuca was not present. So with that, I'm looking for a motion to approve consent agenda 12:11 City Council meeting minutes with the correction, 12:18 City Council special meeting minutes, 12:18 City Council workshop minutes, 12:27 special meeting minutes, 12:27 City Council workshop minutes, January 8th, 2024 City Council workshop minutes, 2024 summary of city organization, 2024 City Council appointments, Resolution 24-0122-1, the annual designations, letter and resolution 24-0122-2 to the Hennepin County, and the 2024 fee schedule. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Francis, second by Councilmember Burek. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item of business is accounts payable. Before us tonight, we have quite a few with year-end and first quarter. So we will begin with staff recommendations of approving the city bills for for year 2023 in the amount of $40,529.92. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Moved by DeLuca,
Second.
second by Burek. Any discussion or questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving the city bill check batch? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item of business is city bills 2024, $166,841.74. Looking for a motion to approve that.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Fay,
Second.
second by Councilmember DeLuca. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item of business on accounts payable this evening is our city bond payments for $706,000 and $705.03. Looking for a motion to approve our city bond payments.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Burek. Looking for a second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Fay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we will do the fire bills in one motion. We have two before us. Fire bills for 2023 is $14,286.30. And fire bills for 2024 are $5,004.80. I am looking for a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember DeLuca,
Second.
second by Councilmember Burek. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. All right, next item before us this evening is staff reports. And I am going to ask, I did not realize before the swearing in that there was a reception tonight at the fire station right now for everyone who was just sworn in. So I'm going to ask for some flexibility and grace, and I'd like to move fire department up so Chief Dennison may get back to the celebration with his staff.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have included, I think, in the packet was my update from a few of the calls in November and then also in December. And then the other thing I do have that I did not get included in the packet, but I do have copies of, if you would like, is just some brief summary of call numbers, if you would like that. And is that something that I can hand out to you and give to you?
Do you have enough copies?
I do.
Sure, and then if you would also please send that to Administrator Colander electronically, he can send that to us and we'll add it to our electronic folders.
Earlier tonight, so.
Oh, thank you.
But I know that he was busy with other things, so.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
So a couple of things with this report, and I'll tell you that outgoing Chief McCoy and I had a little bit of transition time together, but he did leave to go to Florida. So the report that he provided prior, he had some information with hours and whatnot. And I worked through our records management software trying to find how he gleaned those numbers out of that. And I was just having a tough time. And so I don't have in this report the number of hours, again, like he would report in his reports typically in the past. What I have basically is calls for service from December, and then also the calls that we had as a year-to-date total that I could find in there. I also was able to find, though, some numbers for training hours, and then also hours outside of training where members spent at the fire department, and those are the two bottom paragraphs in the report. The one thing that I will ask in going forward, and I don't want to be the copy machine and just do whatever was done before me, I would ask, tell me, I want to make a comprehensive report that does not waste your time, but gives you the information that you want to have. So if what outgoing Chief McCoy had and prepared for you was good and adequate, and you liked that, I would stick with that. If there's something that you say, I don't need to know how many calls you had between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., or I would like to know some other call times going forward. I would like to know that information and would love to have that feedback as to what you would like to see in a report from me. So,
Chief Dennison, with that gracious offer, I'd like to recommend that if you're willing and available to come to one of our workshops, and then that will give us some time to review the current report, and then we can have that open dialogue.
would be awesome.
If
I would
that
love
works.
that.
Okay, Jacob, will you arrange that with Chief Dennison then for
Yeah.
us? Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else?
No, I would stand for questions.
Any questions from council or other staff?
Will this be considered your year-end report, or will you formulate that in a digital document?
I will formulate it into a digital document. And the other thing I know that, again, in the past, and I believe it was important, was the number of hours that were spent where the fire department put in time on calls. So what I would like to do is be able to get together with Ray and to put those hours into that. And I noted that in a paragraph that I didn't have the hours, but I would like to provide that in a supplemental report.
Completely understandable and welcomed.
Okay. Other
Okay.
questions?
Well, go have cake. Take more pictures. And thank
So
you for your
appreciate
service.
the
Sorry I
Grace-
didn't put
Grace,
that together.
and allowing me to go ahead. I appreciate that. So,
Well.
awesome. Thank you.
All right,
Perfect.
takes a team. All right, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next, I will turn it over to our city planner, Mr. Coltis.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. Tonight, I'm presenting the summary for January planning items, really the couple of items that we've been working on the most, 5410, 5414, Highway 12. It's Nutridyne. They're proposing an expansion of their existing building by adding some additional warehouse space onto the building, and then also creating a new facade for that building. So they have an application that's going to be considered by the Planning Commission in February for a site plan approval and a variance for that property. Just kind of a quick note to the council, that building is now down to just them as a user. All of the other users will be out of that building, so it's kind of a change, but they are bringing kind of all of their various services and then functions into that space, and so I think that's exciting. 1520 Wyman Avenue did submit a site plan application, which would propose to utilize that existing building as an assisted care senior living facility. In order to do that, the city would have to consider a text amendment to the ordinance to allow that type of use in the R1 zoning district, most likely as a conditional use, and then the subsequent conditional use consideration. Other than that, just work on kind of finalizing some things with the downtown redevelopment. We did get the signed purchase agreement from them. Steeple on Main, we're working on just finalizing the interim use permit agreement with the applicant. And then 1701 Baker Park Road, we did a letter of credit reduction for the work that they completed this fall, and then just worked on kind of some finalization of their documents. So with that, be happy to answer any questions relating to the report.
Any questions from Mr. Coltis? Thank you for the update and your continued work.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll hear from Chief of Police, West Hennepin Public Safety, and Chief Crailes.
Honorable Mayor and council members, thank you. Included is the kind of the year-end December 2023 activity report. It's obviously been a few months since I've been here, so if you have any questions on this report or anything from before, I'd be happy to answer any of them. But as of December, we've handled 4,997 incident complaints total for both cities. And for the month of December, 248 occurred in the city of Independence and 102 in Maple Plain. As you can see by kind of looking at the chart, and my quick math is 11 of the 12 months in 2023 were all higher activity incident months compared to the year prior. Now, obviously, the year prior, we're talking 2021, 2022, some COVID timeframe in there. But at the same time, 2023, almost most of the year, we were short one full-time patrol officer. So I'd be interesting to see where the numbers would have been if we were at full staff, but who knows? I mean, it ebbs and flows with criminal activity. You can see in the month of December, your criminal activity was literally zero. You know, so and Independence, I think, had 8. That goes back and forth between both cities. I'll highlight a few cases and then answer any questions. December 1st, we had a 5100 block of Highway 12 in Maple Plain. Welfare check of a male acting odd. Boarding party advised the male was asking personal questions about the employee's religions. They asked him to leave. He began to say some other odd stuff, talking about burnt out light bulbs, and left. He was eventually located and talked to and was warned not to return to that property and potentially trespass from the business. This particular person has been many times we've been called in on this particular person. I know that this facility itself has had some calls on this particular person. It's obviously some mental health issues and other factors that kind of weigh into this, and boredom, right? His wife works all day. He sits at home, and then when it's nice out, he goes out and walks, and then he can't appropriately speak to people. The good news is we have an embedded 911 dispatcher with Hennepin County now. So we made some contact with those social workers at Hennepin County Dispatch. This is a free service that started about 3 months ago with the police commissioners. And they've done a really good job following up with the wife, this particular person, how to assist with housing, how to assist with some of the needs that they have. So in the end, I think things have slowed down a little bit, not necessarily perfect, but better than it was. I want to just talk quickly about a burglary that occurred in Independence, 6700 block Highway 12 Independence. We were dispatched to an unoccupied outbuilding, kind of a pole shed, where an ATV, chainsaws, tools, a nice flow, 2-place snowmobile trailer, pretty new, high-end snowmobile were stolen from this property. Our investigation has worked very hard on this particular case and has done at least 5 search warrants on the case, recovering the ATV up north at a property near where we did a search warrant. The snowmobile trailer and all the suspects have been identified, and the snowmobile trailer was recovered at a business in Delano. And the investigations is going very well in that case. The only thing of high value that's still missing, and I'm confident we'll find it, is that snowmobile. So that snowmobile was stolen from an Independence resident, and the ATV was taken from the Independence resident as well. But the investigation is, Officer Cody Thompson did a great job on that case. December 11th, welfare check, 1500 block Howard Avenue. We're dispatched to a male sleeping in a vehicle with a child in the back on a car seat. Make contact with the individual, explain he's just waiting for his girlfriend to get done working. He fell asleep. The kid was happy. Social services was not involved. We had an arrest on December 13, 5700 block Highway 12, Maple Plain. This one kind of goes, it didn't get it coded, I believe, on your criminal because violation was seen in Independence, and then the traffic stop was done in Maple Plain. So that's kind of how it's coded, Maple Plain. So it can go, it's going either way. I think we're coding it to Independence at this point. But officer observed traffic, running registration. The driver's status came back revoked. Confirmed the driver's license status was revoked. Unable to provide proof of insurance. Officer confirmed the insurance was canceled. I think he had 7 prior convictions of no insurance on a motor vehicle, but then goes from a misdemeanor offense to a gross misdemeanor offense. So he was arrested for that offense. During the inventory search of the vehicle, hypodermic needles, methamphetamine, and improperly packaged marijuana was found. This is not that big a significant of a case, but I wanted to just bring to your attention kind of the new policy by the Hennepin County Attorney's Office with possession of methamphetamine. This particular person was considered a routine traffic stop by the county attorney's office, was in possession, I believe, of 0.084, 0.91 grams of methamphetamine. That was confirmed by a drug task force. They do not charge small amounts of methamphetamine in the county anymore as of the last 3 months. So those particular people go free and don't get charged with possession of heroin, methamphetamine, the harder drugs. So we knew that. The investigator, you can charge them with a lesser offense through the city attorney, the gross misdemeanor offense. Our city attorney did a great job and said, no, this is a felony. You need to submit that to the county attorney's office. We knew what was going to happen. It got declined. County attorney's office says, unless it meets aggravating factors of fentanyl or a child in a car or anything, weapons or an assault, we're not charging it, declined it, referred it back to our city attorney. Our city attorney then added the charge in there for the gross misdemeanor possession. We as a department don't agree with this philosophy that there's different rules for drugs in Hennepin County than the rest of the state of Minnesota. And so therefore we still do arrest people for the possession of methamphetamine. They get booked into jail, and then the paper trail continues with the county attorney's office of decline, and then we use our city attorney to charge them with the lesser offense. Now, does that put more strain on the city attorneys and more on your budgets because of their policies on it? Yes, it does. So kind of just bringing that up to you. I'm sure you got questions on that one, or no? It's political, I understand it, and but just be aware of it if they come and speak. This is a pretty hot topic with the Hennepin Chiefs of Police Association with narcotics. So December 20th, welfare check, 5200 block of Main Street, Maple Plain. Female's walking down the street trying to open doors to businesses and houses. She's talking to herself. She's obviously has some mental health crisis. She placed on a hold. 1500 block of Howard Avenue, Maple Plain. This on December 21st. This one's kind of gets to us a little bit. Person in that particular apartment complex calls our officer and says they just got a 10-month-old puppy. They don't like that it's biting our sweatshirts and biting us, and it doesn't behave, and we can't get it under control. We don't want it anymore, so come get it. And the officer said, no, that's not how it works. You're the responsible person that purchased the dog, and here's some information to how to bring it to the Humane Society, and provided all that information. A short time later, that dog was found in a neighboring city after it had been hit by a car because they dumped it, and wasn't seriously injured, but somebody found it in the ditch, and we put two and two together, and so we're working with that agency with a criminal investigation on that. It's just kind of really disappointing. Now, the good news is our administrative assistant, the dog was at her office for a while. She fell in love with the dog. She worked through the Humane Society, and now she owns the dog. So,
But there's only so many dogs our staff can own.
Correct.
Do the right thing.
I agree with you on that one. So that one was just kind of an interesting case. And then crashed on December 8th, Highway 12, County Road 19, Perkinsville is in Independence, but it affected a lot of the Maple Plain residents. Southbound County Road 19 at Perkinsville, the big curve there. Semi coming in too fast, tipped over and dumped his entire load off the side of the road there. They were cited with drive with due care and other violations, but I mean, just driving too fast. And that was during the day. It wasn't during the night, so need to pay attention. Happy to answer any other questions that you may have in regards to the December activity report.
Any questions for the chief? Well, thank you for the great work, and thank you for continued extra work from all your staff, being an officer down all year. So we appreciate it. All right. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Martini, our city engineer.
Thank you, Your Honor, members of the council. My report is fairly brief. Mark kind of touches on the things that he's working on. It's very common that there's some sort of an engineering review piece of that project that Mark brings us into to help out with that aspect of some of the reviews and the projects he's working on. The Baker Park Villas is one of those projects. We continue to provide information related to stormwater management for your newsletter as part of your MS4 permit for owning and operating your storm sewer system. We are also working on taking a look at some grants that are available for, in particular, I&I through the Met Council, so that we can continue to make some improvements in the sewer system. And when the opportunities there, look for some assistance with the funding of that. Again, those land use applications on Highway 12 that Mark had mentioned previously, and some coordination for and ongoing discussions as it relates to the downtown project as well. But obviously the most time-consuming thing that we've been working on has been the street reconstruction project, and obviously that continues to move on. And on your agenda tonight will be whether or not to authorize the improvement and move into the design phase of the project. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Hearing none, thank you for your continued work as well.
Thank
and to
you.
your staff. All right, next we'll hear from Mr. Haffleck, People Service and Public Works.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. Just to go over a few of the goals from the last quarter. A good one that took a decent amount of time, but very simple. Just clearing out all the storm drains and catch basins and curb and gutters. You know, can't really get a street sweeper after November 1st. It's kind of tough to get that done when the weather is starting to get freezing temps. Even though it was a late, mild winter, you know, they still won't come out and do it. So got that done, which was kind of nice. We didn't really get the chance to do that last year with the early winters. So continuing to work on the EAB removal. And with that, we haven't really gotten into it quite as much, just because the ground kind of just started to get hard, you know, the last week or so. So now we'll kind of start working on that and working on tree trimming in the parks. And then, you know, in like the next week, we'll have that OSFIG come through and remove those trees that are in the parks that were already approved by you guys. So that'll be good to get them out of the way. Working with Total Control on the SCADA upgrades as soon as we get our back order parts arrived, and that unfortunately is still kind of dragging out. We got the parts in, you know, like 8 months after you guys approved it in April, and so they did install them and everything's kind of set up, but now we're just waiting on a license from Rockwell, and then they can finish the final transfer and then remove the old computer. So short step, just a little bit more waiting. And then just to continue the diamond map documentation and get started on the water service line inventory that's required by the Department of Health to be completed by October of 2024. And we've made really good progress on this with the feedback of those service line material surveys that were sent out with the utility bills. So that shouldn't be an issue at all, completing that by October 2024. And then for some of the goals for the next quarter, will just be to get more the emerald ash borer trees removed in the parks. You know, now that the ground is frozen solid, we'll be able to get at that more. And complete the annual maintenance of the water treatment plant and public works equipment. Set up sewer jetting and televising for this year. I know it was 2021, we did the south half of town, and I think that was just kind of our plan moving forward, was, you know, wait a couple years and then do the north half of town, you know, group it all in one so there's less mobilization fees. And so with every fourth year that you have to get it completed, this will be the year that we'll have to continue on that. So getting quotes for that here coming up so we can get that completed by the end of the year. And then just continuing valve exercising and setting up more water meter changeouts to slowly transition over to the new cellular endpoints from the CE endpoints that we currently have, because they're discontinued and we can't buy them anymore. And then just to continue to follow and exceed the operational plan as listed in the contract. You guys have any questions for me?
Any questions? All right, thank you for the update and your continued work as well.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And we already heard from fire, so with that, we will move on to administration and finance, and I will turn that over to our administrator.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Just a few things of note for the month of January. Some of this was a little bit of December too. The recodification, our new city code was enacted on December 27th by you guys. That is posted on our website and is live and has been a very helpful tool already. Downtown development, as Mark alluded to, you guys approved the purchase agreement. The developer will work on additional processes to keep moving this project forward, so we're looking forward to that. Staff is working on the 2023 audit. In fact, the auditors are here all week this week doing all their field work. The staffing restructure, just kind of giving an update on that. The council approved this restructure plan on December 27th. Restructuring created a new assistant city administrator position and eliminated 2 other positions, both assistant to the city admin positions. The city hired Abdo to contract as our city finance director, and CLA, Clifton Larson Allen, as the new auditing firm for the city. We will hold interviews this Wednesday and have a special meeting on the 29th to hopefully make an offer of employment. Fire district discussion. We have a meeting on the 7th with the city of Medina, Greenfield, Independence. What other ones am I forgetting? Corcoran. And Loretto to discuss the what that looks like for the future going forward. So that'll be on the 7th of February. The rental ordinance has been enacted with the new city code. It requires all rental units to be licensed and inspected by the city. These first-time rental applications are due to the city by June 1st of this year. Landlords should have received notice in the mail and an application included as well. I've had several calls about that, but we're looking forward to getting that underway. And then next up, elections. We are already in the absentee period, gearing up for the March 5th presidential primary. And so I've been busy participating in some online and in-person training at the courthouse to get myself familiarized with how Hennepin County does elections, because it's a lot different. That's all I have from the city administrative standpoint. I do have Jesse Sturts from Abdo Financial Solutions has included some information in the packet for the council's review. A couple things I just wanted to point out. The taxes under revenue, you will see that there doesn't show a whole lot there. As of the end of the year, we actually have $1,195,966.28 that has come in for that. That just was not in this report at the time that they created it. One other thing I wanted to point out on here too was the interest earnings were much higher than we expected, so that's always good. Overall, the expenses, there are areas in the budget that are over budget, but the overall budget itself is not over. So I look at that as a good thing. We'll be watching that a lot more closely in 2024. Myself having meetings with Public Works and the fire department to kind of go over budgets at the end of the month, so we stay on top of that for the year. And I think that's it. I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions? All right. Thank you, and thank you for your continued service and the transitions to Abdo. I know it's been a lot of extra work as well. So with that, I am looking for a motion to receive staff reports tonight from our city planner, West Hennepin Public Safety, city engineer, Public Works, fire department, administration, and finance.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Fay.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Burek. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next, we'll move on to new business. Our first item this evening is to look at the approval of Resolution 23-10122-3 for the street and utility infrastructure project. Do we want to discuss that anymore, or anything?
I
from
guess
staff?
I can just kind of lead into it as, as we've already discussed tonight. There's kind of several steps along this process to be able to assess the portions of the cost of the benefiting properties. We've complete the feasibility study. We've given notice to the people that will be affected by the project. Gave opportunity to come in an open house setting to learn more about the project. Obviously, tonight we had the improvement hearing. Again, an opportunity for the public to give you some feedback on the proposed project. Assuming that the council wishes to move forward at this time and authorize the improvements, which would essentially authorize the preparation of plans and specs and bidding the project, there's a resolution in your packet that we would recommend that you approve.
With that, I am looking for a motion for Resolution 24-0122-3, approval of the 2024 Street and Utility Infrastructure Project.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember DeLuca,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Burek. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Our next item of business this evening is to learn more about the Hennepin County Mitigation Plan. So we have invited West Hennepin Public Safety Director, Chief Crowells, here today to help us with that.
I'll first thank you, Honorable Mayor and Councilmember. I'll first start out by saying it's a lot of documents and it's a lot of codes and hazardous mitigation and emergency management, FEMA codes. I'm going to try to keep it very simple and hope that there is some questions I can answer for you that you may have. But the bottom line of what this hazardous mitigation plan is every 5 years, Hennepin County Emergency Management goes to every city as emergency management director and says, hey, we need to update our hazardous mitigation plan. What we need to identify the things that if a tornado or a major flood or a fire came through your entire town or a portion of your town, that some of these items would be identified as critical infrastructure. Police stations, fire stations, city halls, Haven homes, water towers, streets, utility lines, cell towers, those things are identified. And it says, hey, do your best to identify in the 2023-2024 mitigation plan to say, identify them so that if there is an event and something happens and an emergency disaster is declared by the federal government, that it would be covered. So in this particular case, I've done this in 2015, 16, now I'm doing it again for both Independence and Maple Plain, kind of updating it. A lot of cost estimates have been updated, but this is the plan you set off to the shelf that you hope you never need to use, and then you also hope that you've identified the right structures and the right things that you would want to do in order to get the federal government to pay for those repairs. So as we talk about different things, obviously the Maple Plain Fire Station, I listed that down. Well, the Maple Plain Fire Station also has insurance, right? So then you have that insurance factor, and same with City Hall, and same with the water tower, and same with a lot of different options. But the hope is that between insurance and this on the hazardous mitigation plan, that you can equally repair or increase the productivity of the property that was there at the cost of an emergency declaration through our federal government. It was kind of interesting that we had a resident ask, I think it was on Bryant Street. One of the biggest things for me on this is, and this happened in St. Peter as well, a tornado comes through St. Peter, they had it on their mitigation plan to take overhead power lines. If the infrastructure was destroyed, they're going to bury them. The federal government paid for all that. So if that resident asks, hey, are we putting power lines underground? This would be one of those deals we've identified in this plan that we will, if a tornado or a fire or something comes in and we can get some reimbursement between Xcel Energy and ourselves, we're going to bury these power lines so it doesn't happen again and we can mitigate the problem. So I would be happy to answer questions that you have, but it is hard to follow, and I apologize for that. But what will happen next is, this is more just information for you to know that this is going on. And then at some point, all the cities in Hennepin County will go to the Hennepin County Commissioners from the Emergency Management Director, and then they will make a motion to approve the mitigation plan, the entire county one, and they'll come back to you and say, City of Maple Plain, we would like a resolution from you approving this mitigation plan.
Thank you for that synopsis and explanation. Are there questions for the chief? Okay, hearing no questions at this time, there's no action needed on this item. We will wait until we get that request from the county, and if we have further questions, we'll reach out to you.
Okay.
So thank you for that. Looking ahead, we had new business letter C, which was resolution 2024-0122-4, a resolution establishing an absentee ballot board for 2024. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'll turn it over to our administrator in case you want to add anything else.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. This is basically empowering me to create a board that accepts and rejects the absentee ballots. That's basically myself, Sharon, and Jill. In the office, when we receive the absentee ballots, we have to accept them or reject them, whether or not they were provided to us appropriately. So that's what this resolution does.
All right. Thank you. Any questions for our administrator? Okay, hearing none, then I'm looking for a motion to approve resolution 2024-0122-4, a resolution establishing an absentee ballot board for 2024.
Excuse me, did we get a copy of that?
No, it was not. It was a last minute addition. I'm sorry to
Here
hand
you
it out
go.
to you. I'm just handing them down so everybody has them.
So we have a motion and a second. I mean, we do not have a motion and a second. I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Francis. I'll second it. Is there any discussion? Any questions? Did you have time to review it, Councilmember Fay? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next, we move on to council reports and other business. Councilmember Francis, do you want to start us off?
Sure. This month went to Highway 12 Safety Coalition meeting. There's a work group that is meeting to try to get that last chunk of Highway 12 improved. MnDOT is having staffing issues, but we're not going to let them use that as an excuse. We're going to keep pushing for that improvement. Attended workshops, attended Chamber of Commerce, where City Administrator Colander spoke to the group, let them know what's happening in our little town, and that's about it. It's kind of a quiet month after all the meetings we had in December.
Thank you for that update. Councilmember Fay?
Well, yeah, modestly quiet. I continue to attend Orono Rotary each Thursday morning. More recently, served on an executive board meeting, acting as organization's treasurer. I attended and will continue to attend after tonight future fire district meetings with both Jacob and the mayor, as well as representatives, I believe, of 5 other cities. The last meeting, consensus was reached that we're going to reach out to the current fire chief of West Suburban Fire District and see if we can't get together and discuss what the potential next steps are of incorporating a fire district. I will say I'm encouraged. It's a model that has potential to reduce redundancy and improve service and efficiency and things of that nature. So hopefully we can make that work in the coming years. attended the open house meeting for 2024 reconstruction with all of you a week ago. Moderately attended. I think we'll get to meet more of our fellow neighbors as this process moves forward. Pair of workshops, as well as tonight's business meeting and a special meeting next week post interviews for filling a new assistant administrator position. I believe that's everything.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Fay. Councilmember DeLuca?
I'll just touch on some of the unique things, and that was the personnel meeting we had. This has been a month where we've helped our administrator monitoring administrative changes for the reorganization within the city, assisting with the recruiting efforts for the open position. We will be interviewing tomorrow evening a set of semifinalists for the position, and then the council will be looking at those on Monday. We've also begun reviewing the HR personnel manual, which is an every other year process, particularly paying attention to some of the new state statutes that affect personnel in some way, or our staff, so we'll make sure we codify those. So.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Burak?
Well, everybody pretty much touched on everything I was going to say. The one thing I do want to say is, looking at the 2024 street project, it is completely different being on this side versus being on the project side last time. So.
It's not an easy side to be on. Neither side is an easy side to be on.
No, but knowing how much we put into it to make it as much information out there is good to know.
That's helpful. Right. I as well attended many of these meetings with fellow electeds up here, so I will just hit on a few. I will mention at Rotary as well, we kept our administrator very busy this month. One week Jacob was our speaker there as well, and people really enjoyed that and learning more about you and learning more about Maple Plain. So thank you for coming and doing that. Also want to add, I was able to attend the Northwest Hennepin League of Municipalities. It was very interesting meeting. It was very speaker heavy. It was very information heavy. We had the chair of the Met Council Transportation there. We had the chair of the Met Council Technical Advisory Committee there. And we had the chair of the Transportation Advisory Board. So they were speaking to us, helping us kind of learn the ins and outs of how all of those interact, and working in particularly towards grants and funding and some of the frustrations we're experiencing out here in Hennepin County and in the smaller cities. I was able to attend the Minnesota Women in City Government. Our focus was on membership and outreach at upcoming league events. And then also just want to put a plug in for the Citizens Police Academy that is coming up starting in February. 8 weeks, 3 hours a night. It is more than worth it. I'm going to steal the Chief's line, even though you're here, but he always says, if he gets you through the door once, you'll be back. And I just want to attest to that as an alumni, as I know many are at this table. So it is well worth your time, and if you haven't, I encourage you and challenge you to do so. Also want to put in for a plug-in for Party in the Park, which is June 1st. We are currently looking for committee members to help in the planning for that event. So we're looking for people willing to help with some pre-work, so you can reach out to Councilmember Fay or myself for Orno Rotary, and we'd be happy to get you connected with that. And then, as our administrator already alluded to, it's absentee voting is open for the presidential primary. So make sure you vote. If not on March 5th, then before, and City Hall will be open extra hours on Saturday, March 2nd from 9 to 3, and Monday an hour late until 5 p.m. on March 4th. So make sure you vote. I think that's all. Next Monday, hopefully we'll be adding to our staff, so we'll have a special meeting at 5:30. Are there any other council reports or other business to come before us this evening? Great. Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Burak, second by Fay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the meeting's adjourned at 8:30.
Been here a couple times, which is fine and appropriate. Phone number, is that supposed to be my phone number?